Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're playing the new dual casting seasonal event, which is an alternate game mode in which the first special card that we play every turn, we play twice. That means we have some absolutely ridiculous combos, including the combo we're revisiting for this deck that got even stronger. So let's go give it a look. So today we're revisiting a Northern Realms Pincer maneuver deck that is one of the strongest decks in this event, because it is all built around creating as many copies of the Cintrian Royal Guard as you can, and because we can play twice as many special cards as usual, that is something that we can do a whole lot of. So we'll do things like start the round with King Foltest, and if you're on blue coin, you have your stratagem, then throw Crystal Skull on him as well to make him a little bit harder to take down. Then throw some Royal Guards next to him so that you start creating copies of the Royal Guard in your deck, and then after that, do things like use reinforcements to create additional copies of it, do things like use Adalia to create an additional copy of it, do things like create additional copies in your deck with the Blue Striped Scout, and basically everything is all structured around doing just that. Can even create another copy with Garrison, the newly reworked version of this card, which allows you to play a Bronze Soldier from your starting deck, and hey, that includes a Royal Guard, so that is one of the reasons why we're revisiting this deck, is because this is a new way to create even more of those guards. Then in round 2, you use Princess Pavetta to bring all the guards that you created in round 1 from your graveyard back into your deck, or before that, you could even opt to use things like Renew to play a couple from your graveyard, and or Necromancy to play a couple from your graveyard, and then use Pavetta after that to bring them from your graveyard back into your deck, and then you use the echoed copies of your Amphibious Assault, which you'll have 2 copies of, assuming you played it in round 1 or round 2, and that means that, well, if you have 2 copies of this in your hand, and each one gets played twice, that's 4 cards, 4 of those guards you can tutor from your deck, and similarly, same thing with Oneiromancy as well, so that's a total of 8 Royal Guards you can tutor from your deck in round 3, which is just incredible. And then you can do things like, once you have them all on the board, if you still have Garrison, you can use that order ability to boost them all up. You could even preemptively put a Mutagenerator on the board, and that way you can start off by playing those Royal Guards in the range row to boost all the other ones in your deck, then finish the round by playing them in the melee row to boost all the ones that are on the board, and use the Teleportation to replay whatever your weakest one is at the end of the round and get it boosted up based on how many you have on the board. Just a little bit of a note with this one, I think we have not replayed this deck since the rework on Doomed cards and Teleportation. Make sure that you are not using Teleportation on any of your Royal Guards that have the Doomed status. So if you are playing them from your graveyard with Renew or with Necromancy, then they will get doomed. So just be careful of that, because rather than replay your weakest card, in that case, that means you're just going to destroy it, because in that case, a doomed card just gets banished when you pick it up with Teleportation. It does not get replayed. So if you have the doomed cards on the board and you have Teleportation and you're trying to use that, then don't use the doomed ones, just use whatever your next lowest card is in that case. And that's really all there is to it. I suppose you can also spawn in a few copies with Megascope as well. That's not as effective because you're not getting extra copies of this in this event, but it's all about just creating as many copies of the Royal Guard as you can, and then playing as many copies of the Royal Guard as you can, which, especially with all those tutors in round 3, is pretty awesome to do. So let's go see it in action. Alright, so going up against Scoia'tael here, and we'll go first. Alright, so we have Foltest in hand, and we'd like to use him to create additional copies of the Guard in our deck. We have 2 in hand here, don't necessarily need both of them. Like the reinforcements that can help us create another copy, we can, since we're on blue coin, use our stratagem on Foltest to make him a little bit bigger, a little bit harder to remove, and also give him the veil so he can't get locked, so not as much of a need for the Pellar here for that reason. Don't love the double done banner. It is a backup plan in case things go wrong and Foltest sticks, but Royal Guard does not for some reason. Oneiro definitely helps a lot as well. Okay, so question initially is, do we do anything before Foltest, or do we just drop him down turn 1 and hope that he doesn't immediately get answered? So they do have Precision Strike, is potentially worth up to 5 damage in 1 turn. Get Foltest up to a 9 with Crystal Skull, which is out of removal range from leader ability alone, but obviously if they have any damaging special cards or possibly even units, they might have enough damage to destroy him right off the bat. But I guess we give it a shot. That's the risk. That is the risk we run. Alright, Sorceress, which in and of itself is not sufficient to shut down Foltest. Now, of course, they can get a special card of some variety out of her, and so that may be good enough. But now, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to leader ability to dump one of these Royal Guards, and then Amphibious Assault, get it back, and I'm just wondering what the other card that we get with Amphibious Assault would be in that case. Not really an obvious answer. But I think we do that. So we draw you. Put one of you back so that we can get you here. Question is, what does this do? It might just be a commando, rather a scout, to get another guard into our deck. So they might move Foltest with the Sorceress here. I'm kind of expecting for this to be a Making Embalm to move you into the other row. That's one of the other things I was thinking about was, do we get a unit that we're feeling okay about putting in the range row? But if this does get moved, no, they won't do that. Then we could have either played this Royal Guard in this row, or we could have used Dun Banner and just gone with a totally different approach and at least flooded the board with Dun Banners in this round. But at least, for the moment, Foltest and Cintrian Royal Guard remains safe. So that works well for us. And now, do we play from hand or do we go reinforcements? I mean, this obviously is 2. That's just 1. I think maybe we do this. And we get a unit in this range row that way. They do try to mess with us further by moving a card into this row. It's not nearly as effective. Granted, having 1 in hand could have been helpful with Oneiro. That might have set up... There are actually several ways we could have set that up to give us more Royal Guard, so we'll find another way to put Oneiro to use here. So yeah, Force Protector is going to be for damage probably... No! Oh, right, because they've only used Riot's Caress. An odd choice of special cards here, it seems. Now they're going leader ability, but that's not enough single-handedly, at least, to get rid of Foltest. Sure, they can take out this Volunteer and get the Rockland Sentinels out from their deck, but that is, comparatively speaking, just not as important. And apparently, they have either no Sentinels in their deck, or the only ones they have are all in their hand, which, no matter how you slice it, that is very strange. Okay, we'd like to play Oneiro in this round so we can get the echoed copies in later rounds. So that might just mean we go and grab these Royal Guards that we put into our deck, and they're there because we boosted them, and Foltest has created the copies in our deck for that reason. So I think we do that. And since this is the first bronze unit getting boosted on this turn, that also means that they're the ones that Foltest is continuing to create copies of. And then we will use our either leader ability or one of those Oneiros to make sure that we get Pavetta in round 2 so we can move all of these guards that we play in round 1 from our graveyard back into our deck so that we can replay them with our echoed copies of Oneiro and Amphibious Assault. Still would, of course, like to play a little bit longer here with things like reinforcements and maybe even use Blue Stripe Scout to create even more of these guys in our deck, although at this point that's maybe not as necessary. Would take a brief detour with something like Dimeritium Shackles to lock you two. Not too concerned about that right now because we have a pretty sizable lead and that lead will continue to grow as we load up on more of these guards. So I think we just focus on this. So the more we get in round 1, the more we have in our graveyard that will eventually get recycled with Pavetta. Alright, and it's Simlas, which this might be the damage that we expected them to eventually pull out. Going after the guards. And they have enough that they could get rid of Foltest if they wanted to. And they do, okay. That felt like they should have done that a while ago. Because Foltest has, in many ways, already served his purpose. We still have 1, 2, 3 more guards in our deck, and we have, of course, the 6 that we already have on the board. We can create more in our deck with this Blue Stripe Scout if we'd like, which is not worth a ton of points in this round, but because we have that big lead and because we are just trying to set ourselves up for a bigger round 2 and round 3, perhaps we can afford to do something like that here. Tell you what, let's actually just put you in between big guys, just in case. Alright, it's Harold Gord. He's a big point slam, yes, but not big enough of a point slam. Usually you try to save him for round 3. So, they still have not caught us. It's potentially possible for them to do so if we pass here, but I'm thinking this might still be the time. I mean, yes, Cintrian, or rather, just combine those 2 words while you're at it, Lids. Lyrian Scytheman is, I mean, it's an okay point slam, but it's not amazing. Done banner, if we still had Foltest on the board, we could have finished with this and just thinned them out from our deck, and that would have continued to be an engine even after we passed, but since they did eventually get rid of Foltest, I think we do cut things off here. Igni will get rid of, I assume, this Royal Guard, which ties us at 71 apiece. Oh dear. So they have to go even further here with Maxi, which means they're going 2 cards down to win round 1. So now we draw into our Echoed Oneiros and Echoed Amphibious Assault. We get our first one here, but if we mulligan anything else, we should get the other one as well. So probably looking to dump one of these 2. And there's the other Amphibious Assault, probably looking to dump the Scytheman, although that could be our throwaway here. It's not a terrible option, assuming that they dry pass, given how they've played 2 more cards than we have. So, actually, would like for our throwaway to be Pavetta. We can just Amphibious, or rather, Leader ability to swap you out into Pavetta unless we happen to draw into her here. Alright, so they will dry pass. And as I said, I think we are looking for using Pavetta here, because with her, we still have 4 guards in our deck, which is not bad. But we could use her to get these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guards from our graveyard back into our deck. Technically speaking, since we have Renew in hand, might actually want to go Renew first in round 3 and then use Pavetta. So maybe we will still use Scytheman as our throwaway. Technically speaking, I think that will allow us to get a few more of the Royal Guards. Alright, and there is Pavetta, so don't even need to use the leader ability to get her. We have Adalia, who, that was the card that in round 1 we could have potentially used if we still had the Royal Guard in hand to create additional copies of them. We don't have one in hand right now, but we could use leader ability to change that. And maybe we swap out this Dimeritium Shackles and see if we can get something else there. Otherwise, this is probably going to be the card we swap out. Get a Royal Guard, and then we can use you to get more Royal Guards. This also gives us more Royal Guards. Okay, Pellar, yeah, that's going to be the card we swap out. So either way, I think we're looking for Renew first, because what we have here is because we're double playing Amphibious Assault, Oneiro, and other Amphibious Assault, we have a total of 4 Royal Guards we can get out from our deck that way. We have 8 at the moment. So that's why we'd want to bring some of these guys back into our deck, but because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here, that'd be, what, 10 total, right? Which is more than we can tutor, which means it's the perfect number for us to get 2 of them out preemptively with Renew, then we use Pavetta after that to get the other ones out. Technically speaking, I think we'll have 1 too few. So we're going to use leader ability to... Okay, fair enough. Heat wave both of them. And we are going to get more out here. Because, yeah, I think we're going to want to Pincer maneuver, swap Pellar out to get one of these in hand so we can create more of them with Adalia. Is that technically what we want to do first? Probably. It's going to take up a little bit of extra board space, but we'll do it. Actually, Mutagenerator is also really nice. That'll be our other Oneiro target. Tell you what, that'll be our other Oneiro target. Okay, so we put this in hand. That's what we'll do with our one extra tutor. So now we use you. Break you. So next we'll go Oneiro into Mutagenerator, and then we'll go with the guard, the next one. And that means if we play the guards either in range row to do the deck boosting on all the guards in our deck. Actually, we'd like to go Pavetta first, I suppose, in that case. So yeah, Pavetta, then Oneiro into Mutagenerator, and Royal Guards, and just spam Royal Guards with all of our tutors for the rest of the round. So they'll flood with these Whisperers, but I don't think that's going to be able to keep pace with us here. Once we do this, so again, I deliberately played from our graveyard with Renew first, so otherwise Renew would not have been nearly as valuable, and we knew we were unlikely to have enough tutors anyway to play all of them from our deck, and Renew obviously only plays from our graveyard, not our deck. So now it's going to be Oneiro into, as I said, Mutagenerator. So depending on where we play these guys, the subsequent Royal Guards, which I have to play one here, they'll either do deck boosting or board boosting, and range row is deck boosting, melee row is board boosting. We have more in our deck than we have on the board right now, so let's go with the deck boosting here. Then as we start to get more on the board, we'll switch it up and start going melee row. Okay, so another Whisper. They're going to flood both rows at this rate. Alright, so now it is just tutor everything out. Technically speaking, I usually prefer to start with Oneiro first, because it's not going to be a factor here, but if you did happen to have any teleportations in your hand, then what you do there is at the end of the round, you replay whatever your smallest Cintrian Royal Guard is, so you want to have your small ones, your initial ones, not be ones that have received boosts. And of course, Oneiro, make sure that they don't get extra boosts, whereas Amphibious Assault does get them extra boosts. Okay, so now the reason why these are all boosted already is because we've used this Mutagenerator. At this point, we now probably do want to start playing melee row. Also, I should not be playing these right next to each other. We know they have used Igni, but they may very well have another Geralt, a Jurden, or something like that, which would be pretty threatening, except that we have at least single, if not double, last save, right? So I don't think that's actually too much of a threat. And this is what I mean. Sure, it might be interesting to go wide like this and spawn in all those Whispers, but eventually you can run out of board space. I mean, I guess we're not at maximum cardage in this round, so maybe that's one of the reasons why they opted to do that. Now, we will either go Amphibious Assault, or we technically could go Garrison, which also can give us additional Royal Guards. Could have used this to put one in our deck with a Scout, I suppose, if we were in desperate need of getting more of them in our deck for our tutors, but don't think that's going to be a huge factor. Then we'll eventually use this order to boost them all. Okay, Mushy Truffle. Going for the damage. Now, I think we'll go Amphibious Assaults from here on out, and then we'll finish with this order and the Cintrian Guard from our hand. So again, technically, we should probably be playing these not right next to each other. But as you can see, the more we have on the board, the bigger they become, and they really start to add up. I mean, for that reason, you can make the case that we should maybe just throw one in the range row here so we don't end up being totally Jurdenable, because that might be what they're trying to do right here. Or not. Usually I try to alternate between, in the absence of a Mutagenerator, I try to alternate between range row and melee row so that they're roughly the same value here. Now their board is completely full. If they have Jurden, they can't play it anymore. And this is what I mean. Like, we have 88 points melee row, 50 range row, so by the Mutagenerator accounts, we would like to play all of them in the melee row, but that would just further stress or make us more vulnerable to a Jurden. So we could have anticipated that a little bit more. Again, they can't play Jurden here, so it's not actually a factor in all likelihood, so I guess I'll still go melee row. And we've probably already won this, but I'm probably going to proceed to still play this one through. Be a little BM, but I just want to show you how to play this out from beginning to end. Because there we saw, again, wanted to play some of these guys from our graveyard with Renew first. Then we used Pavetta to get all of them back into our deck so we could use our remaining tutors to play them from our deck. And then, once we've done so, Mutagenerator, boost everybody up. Again, technically, Man of the Row is worth a little bit more points there, but finish with Garrison to boost all these guys as well for a little bit of an extra finishing point of emphasis to take the win. Alright, so going up against monsters here. And we'll go first. Alright, so monsters, Arachas form in particular, is arguably the strongest deck in this entire event because they have so much removal. So, Foltest first is usually what we like to do, although that is a little bit scary, given how much removal they likely have. They could almost certainly immediately answer him, so might deliberately wait it out a little bit on him. Do like to see both tutors in hand, of course, though. Think Scytheman will probably dump. Pellar could be a way to purify Foltest if he gets locked, but I think it's not the lock we care about, it's the damage, and also the Predatory Dive, destroying our lowest unit, which, if we're not careful, could end up being Foltest. Now, that's not a bad combo, Foltest plus Dunbanner. Okay, so normally it would be Foltest first, Crystal Skull. I think if we do that, we are guaranteeing Foltest gets destroyed either from pure damage from a special card or from just a Predatory Dive, which I guess is also a special card, but it's not the same kind of damage. So, might we deliberately do something like lead off with a Dunbanner first? That way, this is our lowest card. If they want to Predator Dive at a Dunbanner, then okay, sure. Be your guest. But then, after that, Foltest played next to Dunbanner. Dunbanner's still the weakest. We'll create additional copies of Dunbanner, some of them all onto the board, and that way, it becomes much harder for them to do what they're trying to do. So I think that's the plan. Because if we didn't do that, Foltest would immediately get answered. Which sometimes we can still play around, but would be unfortunate, of course. Okay, Arachas Nest. They start with Swarming. They probably would have Predatory Dived if we'd played something more valuable than Dunbanner, but they decided that was not worth it. And if they Predatory Dive now, then of course they're still just losing a 1-point card, which is not all that meaningful for them. If we go Foltest now, this is what I mean. By waiting to play him, yes, we have 2 cards on the board, so one Predatory Dive would get rid of you, the second one would get rid of you. Except, Foltest will boost you and summon the other 2 out, which means that now Predatory Dive is considerably harder for them to pull off. So I deliberately tried to play around it for that reason. Another way we could potentially have done that would, to a certain extent, have been our leader ability, just to get a weak 2-power body on the board. So that would be the initial Predatory Dive target. Alright, it's Manticore Venom. I see. Okay, so I think they're still trying to get Foltest into removal range here, which he certainly would be. But do we have any nice workarounds now? We could bring back Dunbanner with Necromancy. That's not really what Necromancy is here for. It's for the Royal Guards for the most part, but if we do that, we'll get 2 more out here. Foltest is still the lowest, though, right? No, it'd be Foltest would be a 3, and one of the... You'd get boosted up to a 4, but the one that Foltest creates and gets summoned in would be a 3 as well. Foltest and the one that gets summoned in would get destroyed. I think we're still, in that case, looking for Oneiro. And we just start making Royal Guards. We'll get 1 turn of additional Royal Guards in that case. It's definitely not perfect, but I think, given the circumstances, it's probably the best we could do. I think at this point, Foltest is toast. Oh, I don't like that. Okay, we will definitely lock Xavier. I'm surprised they did it that soon, to tell you the truth, because, yeah, oh, it's to get Oneiro. That's what they're going for. Yeah, thought they were going for the Dunbanners with the potential for carryover there, but no. Getting rid of Oneiro, so we don't get all the echoed copies, is definitely a strong choice as well, but, well, let's shut down Xavier in that case. And not only can we lock him, we can just destroy him altogether. I think is probably worth doing, to tell you the truth. And it means, sure, we're not playing any more Cintrian Royal Guards, but it's 1 more turn in which Foltest is uninterrupted, so he's at least printing another one in our deck. Okay, Arachas Behemoth. Oh, they're going for boosts? Really? It's a little bit greedy. I'm surprised they're not going for the damage here. But so now we have at least a couple more guards. Yeah, 2 more in our deck at the moment. So we probably will look to Amphibious Assault to get those out. This is another, of course, card that will get echoed copies in the next round that they would have liked to have prevented us from doing by banishing stuff with Xavier, but by getting rid of Xavier, we shut that down. So that was very important that we get rid of him, otherwise he would have countered us. Okay, Bone Talisman. They have a lot of units on the board, obviously, so it is worth a fair bit, but it's only just barely enough for them to catch us. Now, things get a little more awkward here because we are, for the most part, running out of ways to duplicate our Royal Guards, unless we were to go with a leader ability charge here, which we might want to do to get reinforcements. So that would probably be the best way to make that happen. So that's 2 additional Royal Guards. This is worth 1 more with Garrison, but maybe we finish with that. Well, I'll tell you what, let's Garrison this turn, because this takes 1. If we want to use this order ability, then obviously he doesn't have Zeal. So maybe we do this first, and then we do reinforcements on our next turn, if that is still of interest. And so, of course, each subsequent Royal Guard gets bigger, and every time Foltest remains uninterrupted, we get more of these Royal Guards. So the longer this round goes, the better for us. And it's Marigold's... I assume they're getting rid of Foltest here, right? Yeah. Okay, but as I said, we got a surprising amount of value out of Foltest. I imagined he was going to get taken out much sooner than that, so honestly, we'll take it. And once again, they just barely managed to retake the lead. But I think now we'll go leader ability into reinforcements and use this. Probably instead of Scytheman. Create additional copies of you. And in general, I like to try to mix our boosts across both rows. We now have the biggest one in the melee row, but we have some other boosted ones in the range row as well. We could Garrison here. Technically speaking, I'm not going to use this order ability because we might teleportation on these little Royal Guards to replay them and make them much more highly boosted. And then we would want to use Garrison after that. I'm also curious to see if they can catch us here. It's Chimera. It's your typical Arachas Swarm deck, yes, but it doesn't seem that much like it's tailored to this event specifically. They're not being as aggressive on the special cards as you would normally want to be. Now, they have not caught us, and in fact, they are not even very close to catching us. So you could make a pretty decent case for us passing here. Technically, we do have Resilience on Garrison, so we could, if we, for whatever reason, decide that if they pass here, give us the round 1 win on even, we could push in round 2 and potentially benefit from the Garrison ability. Then, otherwise, as I said, it would be teleportation on these 2 guys so that they get boosted from all the guards on the board, and then you use Garrison's order ability. But I think we pass here. And we dare them to see if they can go any further. Well, okay, admittedly, yeah, that was only just barely, wow, only just barely enough. Okay, so now we draw into all of our echoed copies. Again, we're not going to have both echoed copies of Oneiro because one of them got banished from our graveyard when they used Xavier. So only 3 tutoring cards total. But let's maybe dump Teleportation. I imagine they'll probably dry pass, given how they played 1 more card than us in the previous round, but that might not happen. Scytheman could be our throwaway, although we technically prefer for it to be Pavetta, would be the best. So if we can draw into her, that'd be ideal. We don't, but we might even lead her ability to get her. I'm curious to see what they go for here. Yeah, they are playing. Yeah, in that case, I mean, I think they're gonna find it difficult to match us. Obviously, in hindsight, you know, it looks like going Teleportation and replaying those those guards and using Garrison in round 1 to take the win, I highly doubt they could have caught us. I thought that they were not going to be able to catch us either way, but just barely snuck in the round 1 win. So, think here, let's see, they have 18. Means Pavetta by herself is technically not enough, which is unfortunate, but we are 2 cards up right now, so if we're willing to be on even cards in round 3, then maybe we're still okay with that. Also, technically speaking, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is more than we'd be able to tutor out anyway, and Necromancy we would probably want to do while these guys are still in our graveyard, otherwise Necromancy becomes pretty much useless. We'll do this. And that's still not quite enough, but wanted to do that before we played Pavetta. Snowdrop. Huh. I mean, unless they're about to troll Porter themselves, which I kind of doubt, don't really see a way for Snowdrop to continue to be much of an engine for monsters. But either way, I mean, we could use Blue Stripe Scout to create additional copies of you guys, but I think more likely we are about to go with Pincer Maneuver into Pavetta. Let's dump you, I think. And we'll use Pavetta to get all the remaining guards into our deck. Now, it's not enough for us to catch them yet. Even with this, it's not enough, but they've continued to play here. So again, we're basically just accepting that we might end up going on even cards in round 3, but I still don't think they can out-tempo us. Certainly not in round 3. We do like longer rounds, so we increase the total quantity of guards. So maybe they've done just enough to control the length of the rounds to make things a little more complicated for us. I think. So, Mutagenerator is good in round 3 when you just spam all of your tutors to play non-stop Royal Guards. Problem is here, tempo-wise, it doesn't give us anything in this round. And if it's a short round 3, then it's considerably worse if we save it for then. So I'm little concerned about that. We Alissa, the creative, and Alissa into a reinforcements. Now we'd need another Oneiro to make that work. I think we're just going Oneiro into Royal Guards here. I'm trying to save the Amphibious Assaults because I think that's going to be better for round 3 in case they do. I mean, this is now going to be a very short round 3, right? So I think the higher tempo from Amphibious Assault would be helpful in a shorter round. Alright, it's Lacerate, which... that's close. Once again, it is just barely enough for them. Okay, so now this is the tricky part, is again, what do we do with the Mutagenerator? We're potentially stuck with this as our... I mean, I guess they only have one more card, right? So, maybe it is still Amphibious Assault into... what if we get a little bit clever? And we go Amphibious Assault into 1 guard and 1 scout if we're concerned about the number... Nah, number of guards in our deck is not the issue. For the most part. Well, 3 if we tutor into 2 of them here. It's more so the number of tutors is the issue. Yes, we still do this. On the fence about this one. I mean, you could even argue, why not just go for Scytheman? But as I said, I think tutors are the problem. And we'll do this. Boost you guys up. So now, I mean, even if they were to Yurden, technically, if we were to go Amphibious Assault and get more guards, that would be enough. So yeah, they do stop here. Fortunately, we're not forced into playing a Mutagenerator suboptimally. But it is still probably a card we're going to need to mulligan going into round 3. Alright, and we actually... right, we get more echoed copies of our tutors here, so we actually have plenty of tutors in that case. So we have 3 guards. I think maybe we'll play 1 guard and then use some tutors to get scouts out here. Or Alissa Henson with an Oneiro to get back... Oh, we don't have Renew. Use Renew to get... Yeah, okay. I think I have a sense. Let's dump you. Actually love that to set up Adalia. Okay. Think it's Oneiro into Renew to get Pavetta to get back the Royal Guards, so then we have more ways to get them out with these tutors. Otherwise, we only have 2 guards in our deck, and that's just 1 tutor's worth of guards, and that's not ideal. I think that's probably the play here. Nero, obviously, our most flexible tutor, yes. We go Renew. Go Pavetta. Second. Guess is still a guard, so we're about to get a whole bunch more here. So now we have a ton in our deck. It's now no shortage anymore. We can continue to spam Royal Guards. Not exactly the way that I anticipated round 3 going, but I think we still have a way here. We've now made a way to still get as many guards out as possible. So we don't have that many units on the board right now. We'd like to keep this Royal Guard alive if we can. So I think what we'll do is we'll go Adalia here, and we'll make this Royal Guard in this same row. And in doing so, load up more units in this row, hopefully keep this one alive. And that means that, I mean, every guard that we keep means each subsequent guard becomes that much stronger, of course. Don't really care about Pavetta anymore. She's already done her job. And we actually fought the bleed pretty effectively in round 2 in the way that we have 1 more card than they do right now. So we have, what, last say, 1 extra card advantage in last say. Oh, so close. Very unlucky on how the damage got split there. It did take out one of the Royal Guards. I mean, yes, obviously we have more where that came from, true. But, as I said, it would have meant 3 more points for each additional guard that we would have played. So, kind of stinks. Alright, let's go... Probably start off... Yeah, we shouldn't be at risk of losing any guards here, I don't think. I mean, Igni would kind of hurt, but then again, we have 18 points, so we're actually still unigniable. And any other Geralts, we would still have last say, as we were just saying, so that should mean we're fairly safe. Wish that the damage got spread that way the first time around, then our guards would have been safe. But now it is just spam guards. And by some accounts, yes, we would like to play all in this row to limit the amount of damage they deal with Cataclysm. On the other hand, I'm not sure it's that big of a deal taking 3 more damage when we could instead just, you know, not row stack like absolute crazy. Usually you want to kind of alternate between range row and melee row with these guys, because yeah, there is your... So that's why I didn't want to play everything there. And, I mean, it was almost still enough even after that, but obviously, as I was saying, we still have last say, so we can still get more guards, and so we should still be doing fine here. Doing fine here, even after the Erdn. So there's a look at a Northern Realms Royal Guard deck for the new dual casting seasonal event. If you like the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and leave a comment down below to let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions you'd like us to experiment with next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.